An interplanetary angel and his Ditzy. The dark violet of midnight in her room washed over her. She loosened, aggravated groan, and shifted her eyes from the photograph, only capable of being made out as an outline. Her blonde mane moved with her as she lifted herself onto her hooves. Pain was welling up again inside, and she searched desperately for the answer inside of herself. Her golden gaze crippled to the floor. Her sorrow was rising. For the last few days she was nursing this feeling. She had thought once shoved into the regions, unforgotten. Was it her own fault for the urges? Was it her fault for the heart to feel empty? No, it couldn't be. She had asked Charlie about this sensation before, but the latter only offered a scientific explanation. Something about a thing called dopamine and norepinephrine? Not a response that was exactly capable of grasping Ditzy's understanding. Doctor? A sensation ran into Ditzy's chest. A pressure beckoning her to speak to the chestnut stallion from another dimension. A throbbing feeling of pleasure thudded into her hammering chest. A smile wriggled its way upon her lips. She blushed deeply. It's been way too long for this. She had to tell her doctor. She wanted to. She needed to. She needed to know if he felt the same. Thud. 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 She concentrated on her heart. Could she possibly control it? She knew that he could most definitely tell if it was working like a mallet on the anvil. Her slight blush was proof enough that there was a situation. But he was a doctor. How couldn't he know something was the matter? Ditzy do? Said Doctor, sneaking through her house. Ditzy's eyes widened. Had little time to react. She heard his hoofs clip-clop up her staircase, and she jammed the picture back into her pillowcase. She switched on the lantern, which offered a brilliant glow across the room. Yes, Doctor? Said Ditzy, eyes shifting as the time traveler nudged the door open. He had stared at her. Thud. 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 She gazed into the doctor's aquamarine eyes. Her haunches radiated much resembled the way that her face was right now, except that her face, as a matter of fact, was able to be noted. It was a bright red. The doctor's sudden appearance had been the shower to put a damper on her resolve. The task at hoof could wait, couldn't it? Ditzy, what's wrong? Asked the neatly groomed doctor, his tone bordering upon concern. He maneuvered himself to get closer to the young mare. The thick veil of light emanating from the lantern hanging from the roof glowed across the room, and as the doctor happened to be standing before Ditzy, gave him a celestial outer lining. His voice, during the sentence just a moment ago, had soothed her. It always had. Always would. Yes, Doctor. Just a bad muffin. Nothing's wrong. Well, that's peculiar. I guess even an equine could get a little sick. Well, why is your face red? It seems... The doctor shut his lips for a moment as he attempted to discover what was the problem. Ditzy's feelings were growing larger as she took it inside of him. He was so glorious. She couldn't help but tremble as she gazed at him. Those eyes she always loved illuminated the place like searchlights in the darkest part of her memory. She hadn't lived a life. She had lived a nightmare. Everyone staring with those condescending eyes. Her mother leaving her in the ever-free forest with only a bottle of bubbles, a bubble rod, and her favorite doll, Miss Sweetie. And her dad dying in the middle of her teenage years. Everything about her thoughts terribly depressed the mare. Life had treated the pony with only misfortune, until now, of course. She had the doctor. A caramel stallion, not the biggest, but definitely a fine-tuned creature for her sight of perfection. He had a set of eyes that could make the stars themselves envy their beauty. His body was set with a fine coat, well-groomed naturally and soft. His mind was a fantastic array of brilliance brought about from knows many years of experience. Plus he was so sweet. His wings lifted in sensual delight. She couldn't control it. And the worst part is, the doctor had spent hours studying books on Pegasus and Unicorn, Ditzy and Twilight's Library. Every day, he academically only opened his mind a countless amount of times. He knew. Ditzy, sorry? She had been found out. She was certain. Ditzy had divorced herself. She'd known him for about a year by this point, and her love was too garnished to ignore. For her and the doctor both that was true. They had awkward moments before, but never mentioned a feeling she sure was feeling. She had to show him. For a moment she thought she had crushed all knots of friendship they had. Her lips pressed into his own in a fit of passion, close to borderline immaculate, which danced wildly about like the inferno as her tongue teased the tip of his own. Doubt began to provide its way inside her. Did she go too far? Before she could even finish that thought, the doctor, in a complete sincere action, began to trot his own tongue above Grey Mare. Was he enjoying this? A supernova of bliss burst inside her chest. Doctor? My assistant? I wanted to tell you something for such a long time. I know. I love you. They both spoke those 3 words in unison. Both faces were flushed now, and they gazed towards each other. What should they do with this sensation now? The end. For now.